The fog hisses low as if alive. It folds heavy enough to muffle all else. At the village's edge he halts, heart hammering. The mist stirs uneasy, alive with sound, a faint chittering, a harsh scrape on stone, and the heavy drag of a vast wing somewhere hidden in the black fog. He inches forward, daring his first steps into the thick fog, and then stone crumbles under his heel. For a breath he dangles above the drop off the cliff of a mountain that has no end, arms flailing before jerking back to balance. Cold, damp clings, and the silence returns heavier than before. Welcome back, weary traveller, to Sleeping Figures. If stories of quiet journeys and hidden truths bring you comfort, consider leaving a like and subscribing. Now let the day fall behind, settle your thoughts, and walk with Kaelen, a young man from a village buried in constant fog. His world has been narrow, cottages pressed in mist, the endless drone of insects the size of cows, windows that show only dense grey fog that surrounds the entire village except the sky above. Restless, he longs for what others only whisper about the stars above the shroud. That longing drives him to leave safety behind and step onto the living mountain where world would change forever. Tonight, the only certainty he owns is a single, hard truth. The only way to find out is to climb. He closes his eyes and imagines what he has never seen. Stars scattered endless across black, light freer than any torch could bear. He wants that sky more fiercely than food, more than sleep. Fear argues back, listing every tale of men who never returned, but desire erases hesitation. Better to vanish in the climb than to wilt in fog forever. He rises at last, sucking one deep breath to prove to himself it can be done, and sets his feet to the path no villager dares. Step by step, Kaelen ascends into the white. The fog swallows him whole. The first pace upward feels like sinking into wool soaked with icy water. The fog is thick, laced with moisture that clings against lashes, hair, skin. Every breath tastes of iron and wet stone, and every sound curves strange, muffled as if the air listens to itself. He walks the path that villagers never tread, careful over moss that makes each rock as slick as a fish belly. The forest looms just beyond the edge of sight. Branches emerge only when his shoulder nearly collides, then vanish again as he passes. The trunks sweat continuously, streaming drops that feed uneven pools on the ground. From every direction comes a hum low today, rising tomorrow, always present. Insects of impossible size claim dominion here. You might hear wings as broad as bedsheets thumping slowly in the distance. Then, closer, a sudden crackle like stiff parchment torn in half. What emerges could be a beetle with shell glistening like black horn, its legs taller than fence posts. Our traveller freezes, his chest squeezed so tight it hurts to breathe. He remembers, they do not always attack outright. Sometimes they only stare, enormous eyes like wet beads catching what little glow the fog allows. His thoughts pound. If it chooses me, I am only grass under hoof. He lowers himself, crouches until cold mud grips his sleeves, whispering inside, stillness, stillness, be stone. The insect bends toward him, its jaws click, tasting the mist, uncertain. The sound rattles through the fog, uneven, hard not to hear as threat. He notices how dew beads gather like tiny stars on its back. For a moment, wonder almost steadies him. Then doubt rushes back, sharper than before. I should never have come. The beast stirs, snapping wings with a sound like timbers breaking, and climbs away into white. He finds the path marked by fungus lanterns. Not planted by human hand, they blaze faint yellow, thick stems pushing from ridges of rotted bark. Without them, you could wander until lungs froze. He walks close, hand half outstretched, though never touching. Each bulb wavers bright, then fades again, as though in rhythm with some hidden tide. He fashions a system. When a lantern dims, he pauses. When it renews, he takes 3 measured steps. This way, he believes, he will never stray crooked. And yet the fog resists. It curls heavy, shuffling like folds of cloth around unseen bodies. Sometimes he swears he hears footsteps matching his own a beat behind. When he turns, the mist arranges itself innocent, only his own damp prints visible. Stranger still is the surface under his boots. At moments it feels like stone, gritty and sharp. At others it softens, pulpy and yielding, like stepping on the thick back of some slumbering animal. He tells himself it is only moss, repeats it until the word turns hollow. If it is not moss, then what lives beneath me? The thought claws deeper than he dares admit. Unease anchors, heavy as chain. Then comes his narrowest escape. A crack, sudden and shattering, splits the air. Above him, through a jagged furl of fog, descends an insect, thick-bodied and massive. Its wings churn gusts so strong the lantern stalks sway sideways. He throws himself aside, tumbling into wet fern. The creature slams against the ground where he once stood, legs striking stone so hard the tremor rattles his teeth. He crawls, mud clutching each knee, while the beast rakes heavy pincers blindly. The air is full of that clicking thunder. At last a stroke of chance saves him. The creature's mandible catches the trunk of a towering cedar, biting deep. Sap floods bright, a sickly amber, and the insect thrashes to free itself. In that violent lurch, it bursts through a clearing. There the fog swirls open, currents revealed by its flailing wings. The man dashes forward, ducking beneath swaying branches, pressing his body into gaps, until the sounds fade into distance. Panting, slick with sweat that feels no different from rain, he crouches among pale rocks. Every beat of his heart thumps too loud, and doubt claws in. I should turn back. I can't manage this. Better to go home, even in shame. The thought lingers, heavy, but then another rises to fight it. If I go back, I stay the same. If I keep going, I might become more. His breathing slows as calm edges back. He notices a new pattern. The fog itself moves, not randomly but pulsing like breath. Curl of mist, pause, then retreat, as if drawn in by lungs too massive to imagine. He recalls the stories of children who swore they heard sighs in the woods. Lies, elders had said. Hallucination, said their parents. But now, crouched alone, he begins to believe the fog is not element but organ. And with that belief, fear digs deeper. What kind of body have I been walking upon? Still, curiosity pulls him onward. He studies every stone carefully, because only their gleam resists the rhythm of mist. When the fog inhales, moisture pools and each surface glints like starlight submerged in water. Those brief flashes form a map. He steps where stones gleam together in lines, avoiding shadows where insects lurk or terrain melts soft. The stones guide him up a narrow incline, a natural stair cut jagged and cruel. Clammy air sweats over his chest, but the pattern holds. Starlit stones pointing higher. Hours blur invisible within the fog. There is no day, no night, only unbroken grey. Yet his body knows time through ache thighs burn, lungs scrape, droplets bead into rivers along his spine. Each pause brings temptation. Stay here, sleep against moss. Let fog cover him thick as a blanket. His body begs for surrender, whispering that no one would fault him if he lay still and vanished into silence. Yet a sharper voice rises inside. If you stop, all your hungers meant nothing. If you rise, perhaps you find proof that you were not born only for shadow. And always the image returns starfields untouched by mist, wide and sharp. It drives him upright again. Finally he senses a shift. The path narrows. Stones pressed firm together, Glowing stronger, a faint light forms ahead, not yellow like fungus, not silvery like dew. It radiates steady, guiding as beacon. He trudges faster until the wall of fog seems to bend wider, arching gently into a threshold. Cold stone greets his palm, hard border against endless damp. With one last glance back into white silence, he parts from the familiar. His foot crosses through, and the sound changes, no longer muffled. There is echo now, deep, resonant, carrying back what he breathes. He realizes he has stepped from forest into cavern. The glow falls all around, steady, not flicker, but pulse. In that pulse he feels the ground tremor, slow and vast, like a beat of something living beneath rock. At last he has left the forest of fog, and yet the deeper trial has only just begun. The cavern greets him with solemn glow, walls freckled in mineral veins that catch the light like teardrops. At first he thinks the illumination comes from torches hidden out of sight, but no, it thrums inward from within the stone. Each wall pulses faintly, so slow it could be the breath of a slumbering beast. The floor beneath his boots is dry at last, ridged with cracks that pulse too. A sound rolls through him, so low it is more sensation than tone, like a heart buried under miles of rock, steady and patient. He takes cautious steps. The echoes here travel far, circling back from places unseen. Every crunch of boot sounds as if doubled by some invisible partner trailing just behind. He finds stalagmites bent into strange angles, some twisted like broken arms, others round as cathedral columns. Their shadows overlap, human in outline yet warped, as though stone itself tried once to recall people and failed. The feeling presses heavy. This cavern possesses memory. When the drifts of light swell a little stronger, he notices a figure resting near the wall. At first it seems no more than protruding outcrop, but then it stirs. The figure is a man, or what time has left of one. His back curves under weight unseen, scars crossing his arms like ropes long torn free. The eyes are hidden beneath milky haze. A blind hermit, seated on a shallow rise of stone, turning his head as if to measure the intruder by sound. The traveller halts, unsure whether to flee or challenge. But the hermit speaks before hesitation can choose. The voice seeps deep and rough, shaped by long practice alone. You climb where others turn back. Then a pause. Listen, sip of air. The ground you tread is not still earth. It moves. Slow as seasons, patient as rivers, it carries memory older than your people. The words press against him like weight. He cannot help but scoff, masking fear. All ground shakes now and then. Storms roll, stones crack. That does not make a mountain anything more than mountain. Even as he speaks, the echo of his words lingers too long, as though another mouth repeats. The vibration underfoot strengthens, then fades, as if answering the exchange. The hermit tilts his head. Then who speaks with you now, if not the mountain itself? The hermit tilts his head and smiles with lips cracked white. You dismiss what you feel, yet the beats never falter. Heart within rock, step within eternity. It bears you, young one, though you pretend you walk free. He spreads fingers along the cavern floor, caressing it like skin. It remembers who treads and who falls. The traveller shifts uneasy. He does feel it. Rhythm beneath stone, deeper than earthquakes, steady like pulse slept upon with cheek to chest. He wonders how long the hermit has sat here, years, decades, maybe until sight itself surrendered. Perhaps the man became part of cavern, fed by reverberations alone. He asks, if it carries, then where does it take us? The hermit does not answer straight. Instead, you may leave upward, but you never return the same way. The path downward closes once you accept the climb. Bones buried in the fog know this. Then silence, weighty, the kind that expects confession. But confession does not come. Ambition beats louder than warning. The traveller steadies his breath. I did not come to turn back. At this the hermit chuckles, a sound like stones clattering together. It carries no cruelty, only weary affirmation. Then continue. The path brands you as its own. Do not forget, when the summit speaks, you cannot claim ignorance. His blind eyes lift as if seeking the ceiling, waiting for something far beyond it. The traveller steps backward, bowing slightly out of uncertain respect. He feels that to disrespect such a figure would curse his steps forever. When he turns toward the cavern mouth where light filters stronger, the ground quivers again. One long tremor, heavy, then gone. He cannot be sure if the tremor belongs to cavern or hermit's laughter. Outward he presses, leaving behind shadows and riddles. Stone narrows high above, forming towering corridor. Drafts gust chilly, carrying the distant scent of rain. Far beyond this hollow beats the storm. He feels excitement charge through exhaustion, a sharp current urging him onward. He climbs terraces of rock slick as slate, each step sharper, lighter. Somewhere behind, the hermit returns to silence, still as pillar among glowing stalagmites. The traveller dares a final glance back. The figure is almost swallowed by shadows, as if drawn back into wall itself. For a heartbeat, he wonders, did the cavern even contain a man, or only some echo given form by the mountain? But wind answers quicker than thought. Sharp and insistent, it cuts down corridor like blade. Ahead gapes the exit, narrow, rimmed with silver glow from storm clouds above. He hears their rumble, a rolling chorus, thunderous enough to drown doubts. He presses hand against stone one last time, finding it warm as skin. The pulse returns, slow and deep, like warning disguised as farewell. Yet he shakes it off. Determination rallies in chest. Pride and hunger tighten his jaw. Whatever strange memory lies within stone, it cannot eclipse his need to ascend. He draws hood closer, braces against biting draught, and steps out from cavern's breath toward the waiting storm. The first breath outside the cavern cuts sharp as glass. The air here tastes different, thinner, charged as if saturated with metal filings. He pulls his cloak tighter, but the wind finds seams, slipping cold fingers inside threads. Before him a path stretches narrow, a ridge no wider than a cart's axle, sloping upward like a blade honed against sky. This is no gentle ascent. It is a knife-edge carriageway carved by forces vast and merciless, leading through a heaven locked in tantrum. He steps out, each boot striking stone polished smooth by centuries of gales. The void yawns on either side, consumed by fog far below. Above stretches a ceiling of black storm cloud bruised with silver veins. The entire bridge sways so faintly he wonders. Is it his legs unsteady, or the mountain itself alive beneath him? He steadies his stance and presses forward. Every movement feels borrowed, as if gravity itself debates whether to keep him. Lightning fissures the sky. Not a mere flash, but a tearing, jagged wound, opening brilliance that blinds for half a breath. In that flood of white, the stone ridge beneath him vanishes in glare. For an instant he walks unanchored, world erased. Then thunder slams into him, not like weather, but like a god's voiced decree, rolling through marrow, rattling his ribs. He staggers, drops to one knee, palms scraping against slick rock. Skin numbs, but he rises. To falter now is invitation to fall. Step after step, he inches along the bridge. The ridge narrows even more. Wind scythes across, slicing through cloth, pulling at every loose thread like eager claws. His eyes stream from sheer force, vision blurred in watery streaks. His thoughts unravel. This wind wants me gone. One wrong blink, and I will tumble nameless into the abyss. He crouches lower to center his balance, arms out as if crucified against air. The storm does not relent. Clouds boil, shifting into grotesque shapes of jaws and wings, illusions conjured by exhausted mind. He keeps gaze down, dragging his mind back to control, forcing numbers against panic. 10, pause, breathe, then 10 again. At midpoint he senses the impossible. The whole bridge tilts. At first a shiver, hardly more than imagination, but then undeniable. The stone shifts. Pebbles roll sideways, skipping into abyss. He throws himself flat, chest pressed hard to rock. His arms clasp until knuckles whiten in darkness, lit only by storm. With every heartbeat he expects collapse. Though the stone steadies after moments, terror lingers. Mountains are not meant to move. Yet this one groaned like a ship in high waves. He climbs back into crouch, trembling. His mind floods with questions unwanted. What kind of ground slides so subtly alive? What creature could wear a ridge fit so delicately? Memory stirs of the hermit's warning. The ground you tread moves with memory. He swallows, bitterness of doubt heavier than rain. But ambition does not permit paralysis. He convinces himself the tilt was illusion, storm trick upon nerves. He cannot afford belief in what defies his will. Thunder returns, this time staggered, as if multiple voices overlap. Deep, droning bellows, rising and falling in cadence nearly human. Somewhere in those tones lingers suggestion of song, chanting in language stripped of meaning. He feels as though entire sky gathers to witness, to measure his struggle along this exposed bridge. He forces breaths slower, refusing to flee though he cannot. One pace another, dragging body against unrelenting gale. The climb demands endless time, yet each yard amplifies resilience. Muscles fire with ache, but his resolve hardens. Around him water crashes from cloud in fierce sheets, but they do not wash him away. They baptize instead, cold sermon urging ascension. Even fear transforms here once chains, now fuel. The thought surfaces. Perhaps courage is not absence of terror, but mastery of it, bending it into anchor. Eventually a change surfaces in storm's texture. Winds, though still sharp, soften to constant stream, no longer ragged. Lightning retreats higher, contained like lanterns hung behind cloth. He dares to lift gaze. Beyond wrathful clouds glows a strange silver luminescence, as though the storm births its own moonlight. That glow marks destination. The bridge, though still thin, angles toward that brilliance. One last test. At crest of ridge, the path fractures. A crack split wide by ages. A chasm gaping directly through Earth's spine. The leap required is near madness too. Maybe 3 strides, stretched between lips of stone. He stops, chest heaving, hair plastered wet against scalp. Options lie none but forward. Returning across half a ridge under storm is death of slower sort. So he prepares. He lowers himself, pressing palms to slick surface, gathering breath until lungs burn from overfill. He runs, feet hammering like drum, leap released at last instant. He sails through darkness, flung between abysses. Weightless heartbeat, scream muted by thunderblast. Then boots collide with stone, smashing knees but granting anchor. He collapses onto trembling ridge, gasping but alive. The storm howls disapproval yet cannot claim him. At this survival, something within shifts. He no longer feels captive of path, but partner to it. The ridge demanded life price and received effort instead. In return, it offers passage. He steadies, rises. The final stretch climbs steep but steady into the silver-laden clouds. He presses on, limbs fueled by stubborn pride, until the bridge bends upward into vapour thick as milky glass. As he disappears into that glowing shroud, sound changes. No crash of thunder, only muffled hum as though walls of fog themselves absorb fury. Each step softens, echoes dulled, replaced by whispering calm broken only by drip of condensed mist. For first time since cavern, he breathes without choke. The storm shrinks behind him, fading to memory. Ahead glows promise silver radiance of hidden realm. He presses deeper into clouds, unsure if they are sky, dream, or threshold. But he knows this. He survived the bridge of storms, and every fear surrendered there will carve his path higher still. The clouds open into a sea without shore. He steps from the razor edge of storm into drifting brightness, where every surface gleams pale like fragments of moon polished into air. No ground stretches far, only ridges of ice, delicate arches suspended between vaporous chasms. The mist here is thick, curling upward in columns that resemble towers. They lean and dissolve in rhythm, as if invisible hands knead them into form, then scatter them back into drift. His boots strike frost that crunches yet somehow holds, though translucent enough to reveal endless void beneath. He breathes shallow, not only from the altitude but from astonishment. The forest of fog seemed confining. The cavern seemed solemnly alive. The bridge of storms felt lethal. Yet this new realm is different. Quiet cathedral above heaven, woven only from ice and mist. He advances slowly across a suspended bridge. It is too narrow for reason, surely too fragile, formed of ribs of ice glistening as if they might collapse under gaze alone. And yet each stride holds. The silence deepens until his own breath is percussion. Then, faint as dew sliding from leaf, he hears new sound, wing beats, but not like insects from the woods below. These are slow, ethereal, barely part of air at all. Shapes drift forward out of pale. They are human in outline, yet not entirely. Limbs stretch slim as reeds, wings of vapour trembling outward, translucent as breath in winter. Their faces bear no clear features, just faint arcs of light, suggestion of eyes, suggestion of mouth. And when they speak, it is not with one voice but layered, hushed tones that overlap, weaving into almost melody. "You do not belong here," says the chorus. Their words move no lips, but stir mist into circling rings around his head. He grips his threadbare cloak, startled but too tired for fear. Another ring forms, glowing faintly silver, and the chorus continues. "Those who enter the high mist are claimed. You may turn back while you retain yourself, or remain and be remade." He hesitates, fear whispering to turn back, to kneel and rest. His throat tightens on the words, but he forces them out at last. "I was born in fog," he says, "but I climb to learn what may wait above it. I cannot turn back, even if part of me wants to." Their wings tremble, stirring gentle gust. The sound recalls distant choirs half forgotten. Then words shift colder. "Descent will no longer be yours. You call the height answers. The valley you knew is sealed." He feels sudden pang memory of his village. Dim windows glowing orange through fetid mist, the slow drone of insects as constant as heartbeat. To think those paths cut off forever chills deeper than wind. Yet he steels himself. He knew this risk when he stepped first into fog. The path of return has always been shadowed. Now it collapses altogether. At once, the sentinels extend wings wide. Feathers, if they can be called. Feathers scatter from their forms. Shards of frost spin down in hail, swirling around him, slicing delicate tracks upon skin. Voices layer louder, hypnotic hymns designed to unmake will. Words slip through memory. His mother humming at night, his father's sigh at dawn, voices of companions long gone. The sentinels mimic them, twisting them into whispers, urging rest, urging surrender. He sways on frozen bridge, heavy with exhaustion. Indeed, if he lay now, soft frost would bury him kindly until eternity. But his vision cleaves instead to the thought of stars not yet seen. He utters mantra, his own invention. Above the fog waits truth, over and again until it anchors mind. Through haze he notices faint rift along ice wall to his right, a seam narrow but angled upward, as though path contrived by chance, perhaps instinct, perhaps invitation. He lunges toward it. The sentinels wail, voices shifting to sharper tones but do not block. They only watch, wings shuddering slow, eyes of luminescence thin as candle flame. He scrapes through the icy corridor, lacerated by edges that cut cloak into threads. Still he presses upward. The corridor narrows, breath condenses into sharp crystals before his lips. At last it unfurls onto new ledge above the pale bridge, a crag jutting sharp from cloud. He staggers onto it, nearly falling from weakness. But even in that moment, he senses quiet triumph. He has broken through trial meant to bind him here. Below in distance, the mist-bound sentinels rearrange. They float in circle, wings overlapped, voices pulsing faint like tide. Then together, they whisper a parting note. The height remakes all who pass. For the first time, their tone feels less like decree, more like careful counsel, as if many throats spoke both warning and blessing at once. The phrase slides into his marrow rather than ear, a seal against retreat. He stands shivering, staring upward at towering veil of mist. Meaning of those words coils heavy remade into what? He cannot know. Yet his pulse answers stronger than doubt. If he is to change, it will be through choice of climb, not mercy of stasis. Above, the clouds gleam faint, rose from light of some unseen dawn. Higher than even sentinels dwell, higher than illusions of home memories. The way calls again, cruel and magnificent. He tightens fists, raises chin. One more breath, ragged, then he steps forth, leaving translucent guardians behind. The air thins with every step. It does not announce itself all at once, but in creeping whispers that press into lungs, stealing their fullness. At first he only pauses more often, fingers to knees, breathing harder than the climb deserves. Then the truth unfolds. The mountain ascends not only through rock and mist, but through the sky itself, collecting silence where oxygen once lived. He drags breath, short and sharp, each inhalation scraping throat raw. Wind has cooled to near stillness, yet his skin burns with cold. Frost forms tiny teeth across strands of hair and beard. When he pulls his hood tighter around his face, thin crystals snap against cloth. He cannot tell if day or night reigns above sky, remains wrapped in opaque white. All colour has drowned in pallor, save for faint red on his hands where frost bites hardest. The path narrows into ledges scored with ice, jagged against boot soles. Each step risks slip, and each slip here ends forever. He walks sideways, shoulder-scraping cold stone for balance, trusting fingertips more than eyes. Sometimes stone ends altogether, replaced by snowdrifts he must trust with weight, though they creak and collapse around ankles. More than once, he barely claws forward before the snow beneath gimps and shears down into abyss. Exhaustion sharpens into visions. At first, gentle, glow of hearth in village home, ember light through mist panes. Then clearer, his mother's silhouette bending over fire, lips moving in lullaby. He can almost hear the tune, soft and steady, but it is faint. His chest floods with ache. If I only rest, I could be warm again. The sound pulls at him like gravity, thicker than mist, urging surrender. Step by step he slows, listening more than moving. When the tune fades, he glimpses others' faces half remembered, friends from market gone years past. They smile, beckon his return, telling him there is nothing beyond fog worth pain. They look so real. Maybe it was wrong to climb. Maybe pain was the only prize. The temptation is deadly sweet. To lie back in whiteness, let cold cover limbs, let voices sing him downward into sleep. Would it not be gentle? No insects trampling, no storms screaming. Only white, quiet, familiar faces, rest eternal. He sways, knees folding, nearly falling into drift. But then, through blurred vision, he recalls mantra struck into heart among sentinels. His own voice emerges, brittle, echoing from cracked lips. Above the fog waits truth. He repeats, at first a whisper, then louder though his chest shakes in pain. Above the fog waits truth. His own voice startles him, half believing, half desperate. For a heartbeat, the vision of his mother seems to answer, "And what truth is worth your bones, child?" The words nearly unmake him. He shudders, steadying himself, and though the doubt hangs sharp as frost, he repeats the phrase until the illusion fades. Hearth smoke vanishes, mother fades. Voices dissolve into hollow wind. Only stone remains, harsh and real. He clings to that harshness as lifeline. He pushes upward, step grinding into frost. Muscles scream rebellion, lungs gasp futilely as if pulling air through needle's eye. Still he climbs, counting 10 paces at a time before resting against ice. Fingers grow stiff, refusing to curl. He smacks them against arm to force blood through. Breath fogs thick cloud before him, collapsing instantly into frost that clings to lashes. The world compresses into rhythm. Step, breath, mantra. The higher he goes, the more the very air hums. Not from wind, but from altitude itself. Faint resonance fills ears, droning note like faraway horns. Perhaps real, perhaps blood coursing unusual. The sound steadies his pace, becomes backdrop against which he measures will. With each note he tells himself, if there is music in thin air, then above waits more than silence. Yet delirium presses stronger. Once he sees torchlight flicker up slope, certain others climb. But when he shouts, there is only echo. Another moment he feels hand against shoulder, guiding him gently to sit. He jerks around but nothing, only empty snow swirling. Still, rather than despair, these hallucinations reveal measure of change within him. Before, such spectres might have shattered nerve. Now he studies them with detached awe, finding beauty even in deception. The climb bends his fear into curiosity. By degrees the slope sharpens. Frost gives way to naked rock carved against brightening veil. Somewhere behind clouds seems to stir dawn. Light seeps faint amber through cotton sky, illuminating cliffs vertical and cruel. Their surfaces gleam half white with rime, half black with bone-dark stone. To climb further, he must scale those last walls. He grips fissures, drives boots into cracks, dragging body upward hand over hand. The thinness of breath punishes worse than task, yet frost-whipped dawn urges strength. Hours pass unseen yet endured. When he hauls himself onto final ledge, chest pumping like bellows nearly punctured, he feels transformation spread quiet as sunrise. Fear has burned out, its ashes scattered into mist. What emerges is sharper, a wonder stripped of dread. His eyes shine clearer despite exhaustion, mind firm upon purpose. He sees how each trial tore a layer of timidity away. Fog, cavern, storm, sentinels, now this trial of air all chiselling, remaking. He is not the same restless villager longing at window. He is pilgrim of heights. The ledge narrows into upward throat of mountain, towering cliffs dissolving into cloud lightened by dawn. Thin air pummels lungs but opens horizon. He gazes one last time downward. Mist churns endless, unbroken. No path descends any more, only ascent. Ahead, cliffs glow with hints of rose, morning reflections scattering across stone-like promise. He spreads raw hands, gripping rock, and murmurs final phrase not mantra of survival, but recognition. Every trial has been wound that blossoms into awe. So he steps forward, pressing higher toward those cliffs of dawn. Above waits final realm, guarded not by air or terror, but by revelation itself. The ledge he conquered narrows into a strange threshold. Cold stone gives way to a surface unlike any other. It feels both firm and yielding, a crust formed not solely of earth, but of frozen mist hardened under invisible pressure. He steps upon it carefully, half expecting collapse, yet it endures. The silence here is stark. After storms and shrieking winds, this quiet presses immense, so ample it almost hums in his skull. He breathes, shallow and strained. Each draw of air arrives biting, but something beyond thinness catches his attention. The air glitters. Microscopic shards drift through, suspended like silver motes. They catch faint rays of hidden dawn, illuminating the sky in subtle flares. He lifts a trembling hand, fingers outlined by sparkles. They sting faintly, but leave no mark. In this thin world, even air seems luminous. The plateau spreads wider as he advances. It rolls outward into what appears like endless frozen meadow, but each step reveals details made uncanny. Stones rise from ice like petals clenched against wind, each etched with crystalline veins that resemble frost flowers. Surfaces ripple faint colour once violet, then indigo shifting like bruises upon skin. He trails a hand across one bloom of stone and hears a faint chime, delicate as glass struck by nail. The place resounds without percussion, as if the mountain itself sings under his touch. The horizon unsettles him. It tilts slightly, as though plateau slants toward emptiness, bending reality sideways. He shakes dizziness from skull, forcing focus. To give in to slant means surrender. He steadies eyes upon fixed point, a tower of cloud swirling upward, glowing core silver, like molten metal tempered by moonlight. That pinnacle promises revelation, though steps toward it unhinge. The silence remains heavy, but not devoid. A subtle rhythm underscores its slight rumbles beneath feet, faint but carrying. He remembers hermit's caution, remembers ridge that shuddered like beast twisting. Here again the suspicion blooms. This is no ordinary mountain, no dead spine of planet, but something strange alive. Still, he refuses pause. Curiosity weighs stronger than doubt, so he presses onward into that tilting world. February air, or what feels like such hammers skin with bitter cold. He crunches across pale field, each step sounding too loud against vast quiet. Behind him, pale fissures of dawn widen across the mist sea, their light catching edges of plateau until entire surface gleams pearl. An illusion, perhaps, but it steadies resolve. He notices movement at distant edge. Pale shadows glide like slow stars rearranging. He narrows gaze, and indeed sees them. Sentinels again, not near, not threatening, but present. Why do they return? Do they wait for me to falter, or to judge what I have already become? They stand adrift upon edges of plateau, wings trembling as if woven from translucent rainbows. They do not speak, only watch. Something in their posture is unjudging, more assessment than malice, as if they measure him not by breathing body, but by what change bleeds from soul. The thought gnaws at him. Am I already transforming in ways I cannot see? The sight unsettles, yet anchors. To be watched is to be witnessed. He keeps stride, determined to show them wholeness. Each moment he rests distance from plateau, distance from exhaustion. He feels lighter though body aches, as if invisible cords pull upward with him. Then comes trial, subtle yet maddening. The plateau bends itself, horizon shifting like tilted glass. When he walks straight, scenery spirals as if he strays diagonal. He stumbles, nearly crawling, dizzy from warped balance. He closes eyes, breathes slow, repeats grounding phrase learned among thin air. Above the fog waits truth. By that rhythm he steadies again, counting footsteps more than sight. Slowly disorientation softens, yielding pathway half stable. Hours or perhaps seconds, time impossible here blur until final stretch emerges. Broken columns of ice thrust upward, crowned each with glitter frost. They circle, forming natural cloister around summit. Within, air brightens unbearably, silver white radiating from hollow at centre. He limps through these crystalline guardians, boots echoing sharp as hammers on bells. The sound reverberates upward, swallowed into an unseen height. He senses plateau nearing end. Breath grows ragged, not from ascent alone but from awe. Spine tingles as if charged, nerves aware he stands at edge of revelation vast enough to unravel belief. The sentinels' distant silhouettes fade into swirling mist. Even they dare not intrude further. Vision narrows onto final rise. His body trembles, yet will propels beyond fatigue. Stones glitter beneath boots, veins alight like molten rivers sealed under glass. Clouds above churn luminous, no longer storm-dark but radiant. Every step pulls him into brightness so intense it erases thought of origin. He drags his weary limbs across last field of ice-flowered stone. Each fragment crunches glass-like, scattering shards into mist. His mind empties, filter cleared, leaving only raw anticipation. At plateau's summit he halts, trying to steady while the horizon ripples again. Forward terrain appears less mountain peak than vast brow sloping toward infinity. Illusion? Or truth unseen before? He lifts head, meeting brilliance unflinching. Air cracks faint like distant thunder, but silence smothers soon after. He realizes at last the summit of clouds stands before him. Fabric of sky folds open, promising beyond it a revelation unlike all else below. And so he staggers forward, ragged yet resolute, stepping onto crown of mountain that waits to reveal final secret beyond clouds. The hidden heart of realm he has chased since restless nights in a fog-wrapped village. The last incline is less a path and more a surrender. His boots no longer climb stone so much as slide across an immense slope that tips smoothly upward, curving in a way no peak should. He steadies himself with numb fingers pressed to the ground and finds not jagged granite but surface oddly supple beneath the crust of frost. A shock runs through him, his mind insists he touches rock, yet the subtle impression beneath is warm, almost yielding like flesh beneath calloused skin. He pauses, body trembling with exhaustion, lungs tearing on gasps of thin air. Around him the clouds fracture into radiant seams. For the first time in his life he sees what lies above fog unbroken. A sky opens, blue so deep it seems endless, laden with rivers of light where stars still linger. The sun spears edges of the world, scattering gold across the crown of clouds. He has reached the height his restless heart demanded. Yet awe lingers uneasily. The horizon moves, tilting one way, then another. He tries to steady his vision, but the entire plateau beneath him sways like deck of a ship bearing massive cargo. Is it me losing my sense? Or is the ground itself betraying me? The tilt is not illusion of fatigue. It is real. His mind claws for denial, whispering insistently that mountains are firm, mountains do not shift. But another voice, quiet and merciless, tells him, then this is no true mountain. He spreads his arms wide, struggling for balance, teeth rattling at the realization. Mountains do not sway beneath heaven's wind. Mountains do not breathe. He forces his gaze outward, down through the gaps in drifting mist. The veil parts briefly, as though invited. and for the first time he sees his own world laid bare. There the village of fog. Houses so small now they seem toys sprinkled across a ledge. Beyond it forests coil grey, writhing with movement of insects that once appeared giants. But perspective undermines terror. From this height they seem no larger than ants. His chest heaves, not only from altitude, but from sudden shift in scale. Everything he has known shrinks into fragile miniature, perched upon a slope that is not earth at all. The realization grows vast and cruel. What he thought was a mountain, what his people swore stood eternal, is not fixed to ground, it is part of something alive. The slope tilts again, a gentle roll, and he hears it now immense rush of air, rhythm too constant to be storm, like breath. Each exhalation pushes clouds into rivers, leading away past horizons. Each inhalation drags mist back across slopes, replenishing the shroud his village always knew. Knees weakening, he drops to the surface. Both palms curl tight against glacial crust, feeling tremors rise beneath. There is cadence, steady and colossal, a heartbeat under stone. Images surge. The hermit's words of memory moving underfoot, the ridge that tilted like restless sleeper, the fog he swore pulsed as though lungs inhaled. The fragments align in sudden clarity. He is not standing on a mountain. He is standing upon the flesh of an unfathomable being. Slowly, cautioned by terror, he lifts his gaze higher. Beyond the slope rises a contour unmistakable, an arch, vast and rounded. It is forehead, colossal brow reaching into brilliance. To either side plunge valleys curving like immense sockets, shadowed and deep. And further still, past a river of light breaking through cloud, he glimpses movement, locks of something, not stone but strands, ridged like carved forests, swaying with each tremendous tilt. Hair stretched for miles, shifting as gales of heaven stroke across it. His body shakes. Childhood tales of ridges animated by spirit return unbidden. Yet nothing in spoken memory prepared him for this. The living mountain is not mountain at all. It is a giant, endless in scale, striding across oceans of sky. Each step, leagues consumed without thought, tilts horizon for those dwelling unknowingly upon its shoulders. The fog below is not curse of weather, it is breath itself, vapour pouring from nostrils immense enough to birth clouds entire. Terror presses first. To live all life without knowing, perched upon a roaming giant, is to realise fragility bare. His home, his people, his every memory rests on skin that could shrug them into the void with one careless shift. He feels foolish to ever have believed the ground unchanging. He wants to weep, and doubt weighs in. What power have I before this? Yet even as fear tightens, awe cuts through. What could have been only despair also feels like release. The scope of universe unfurls before him. His village is not centre. It is speck clinging to wandering titan drifting across endless sky. He dares to stand though knees buckle, arms spread to steady balance upon shifting slope. No storm shrieks here, no insects menace, only vastness opening. The giant strides slow, so slow a villager below would never perceive. Here, upon summit, motion is undeniable. The air itself seems to murmur in rhythm, a deep voice repeating his own scattered thoughts. Curiosity was compass truer than fear. For once the words sound outside him, not within. He traces gaze to horizon, where clouds peel apart beneath its steps. Stars blaze sharp overhead, indifferent yet intimate. By following that compass, he has pulled back veil no other dared. The ground tilts once more, and he lurches but does not fall. Instead he lets sway carry him, body yielding to rhythm of this godlike being. Below, the mist-bound sentinels gather faint against ridges of air, wings shimmering as if acknowledging transformation. They had told him, The height remakes all who pass. Their words ring absolute. He is remade not by survival alone, but by sight of truth few minds could endure. Fear dissolved. Wonder sharpened until it carves identity itself. He looks outward once more, toward infinite vista stretching brilliant and dreadful. Stars scatter sharp, unfiltered. Rivers of clouds coil below, trailed smoke from Titan's passage. He imagines miles-high footfall crushing storms like dry leaves, striding between worlds unseen. And there upon shoulder of giant, a man shifts his weight, small and trembling yet entirely awake. His lips curve into expression neither quite smile nor sob, more release. For restlessness that kept him turning on straw bed, staring into fog, has at last met answer. He knows now the valley never fixed nor doomed. It travels. His people drift across heavens unknowing, but alive upon being that walks forever. To him, knowledge is gift and burden together. He senses his life diverges from theirs. They will remain blind in fog. He, only he, has seen. The revelation seats itself deep. Nothing holds still. What seemed mountain proves stride. What seemed cage proves passage. He lowers head, whispering thanks whether to giant or to courage itself, he cannot tell. The breath of Titan washes over, warm gusts scattering frost, drying tears from his cheeks. For the first time he breathes free of fog, lungs aching yet unshackled, and so he stands upon crown of the living mountain, a tiny figure balanced upon the head of a god striding across sky. Ahead wait horizons infinite, mysteries more colossal yet, but now he understands. Truth is not final summit. It is rhythm, ongoing, like the heartbeat of this wandering giant. His compass will never still, for curiosity itself is the only guide that led him here.